Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be making hot rolls. It's a recipe that my mom used when I was a kid and I've used for years. Very easy. You can make your own bread and your own dough, hot rolls, pizza dough, homemade bread. It's not that hard. It's just a matter of getting used to working with dough. So, and this dough is very easy to work with, by the way. You don't have to knead or anything like that. Tonight I'm going to have spaghetti for supper. So I thought I would surprise my family with some homemade hot rolls, and I'll also serve a salad with that. And then this particular recipe for dough, I can take and also make cinnamon rolls with it, as well as the hot rolls. So I'm going to take half of my dough and make hot rolls to go with our spaghetti dinner. And then the other half I'll be making cinnamon rolls, and I'll bring you all along and show you how I do that. So I'm going to turn the camera down so you can watch me make my hot roll dough. Okay, so I have here my favorite bowl. It's a stoneware bowl, and I love to make bread. This is what I always use to make my bread. The first step we're going to do in making our hot rolls, I'm going to get some hot tap water in this bowl, and we will dissolve our yeast in some warm water. That's the first step to making our dough. So let me do that real quick. You want about 1/4 of a cup of tap water. I get it as hot as my sink will get it. I just use the active dry yeast. I do not use rapid rise. You just want to stir it till it dissolves in the water. And then it's just going to sit here and get happy while we do the rest of our liquid ingredients. So there's our yeast. I'm going to set that aside. Next, we take a cup of milk, and you need to scald this milk if you're using a stovetop. And to scald means you get it nice and hot just before it boils, but you don't want it to boil. I'm using my microwave today, and I will microwave 1 cup of milk for about a minute. Now, while my milk is heating, I have put 1/4 a cup of shortening and 1/4 a cup of sugar and 1 teaspoon of salt. While the milk is heating, I take and I cream the shortening and sugar together. And you do this until you can't see any more sugar granules. There's also a teaspoon of salt in here. I don't know if I mentioned that. So you get this all creamed together nicely. And the idea of heating the milk is so that when you put it in the bowl, it will melt the shortening down a little bit. Helps your ingredients to marry, to blend. And all right, there's that. It's all creamed, as you can see, and let's go check and see if our milk is ready. So now we add our milk to our shortening and stir it gently. It's not going to melt completely. I might not have got my milk quite hot enough, because let's melt it down a little bit. Scrape the back of the spoon because I have the shortening stuck on there. All right. The next thing I'm going to do, my hands are clean by the way, is you take 1 egg. And I'm going to break it into my Pyrex measuring cup. And I'm just going to beat it lightly. And then add it to my ingredients in my bowl and give it a stir. Okay, now we're also going to add our yeast mixture. That is mixed up pretty well. We're going to add our flour. There is measurements to the recipe, and I will add those down below. But I've done this for so many years that I just I just pitch and throw, I guess. I know how much flour it takes by how my dough feels. So I will add the measurement for those of you who would like to see that. Okay, when you get that amount mixed up, you add a little bit more. And you just keep doing this until you get a nice dough. Still very sticky, as you can see. So I will add more flour. All right. At this point, when the dough begins to get just a little hard to stir, you don't have to use your hands with this particular dough, but I like to, that's how I can tell when my dough's ready. I tell by how it feels. So I get my hands in here, which my hands are clean. Again, add a little bit more flour because it's still pretty sticky. This recipe is also very easy to double. I have done that when I take my rolls to church fellowship meals, or my husband takes them to work a lot. Like if they have a potluck at work, he'll take hot rolls, and I'll always make a double batch for him to do that. But for us at home, just one batch is plenty. And like I said, I'll do half of that in dinner rolls, and half of it will be cinnamon rolls. All right, there's my dough. It's not super stiff, but it's not sticky, so I'm done with that. Now I'm going to cover this with a clean dishcloth, and I will leave it and let it rise for an hour and a half, and I'll be back to talk to you then. Guys, I'm back again, and here's our hot roll dough, and it's been about an hour and a half. Remove the clean dishcloth, and that's a nice dough. I don't know if you can see it or not, but if you press your finger in, the hole will stay. It won't close back over. So this dough is ready for making into hot rolls. Before I can do that though, I take some shortening and I make sure that my hands are able to handle the dough without it sticking so badly. So I also could substitute, instead of shortening, you can use lard in this recipe. My daughter-in-law is allergic to one of the ingredients in shortening, so I use lard when they're coming over, and that way she gets to enjoy fresh hot rolls as well. For a full recipe of hot rolls, I would take a 9x13. For a double recipe of the hot rolls, I have an 11x15 that I use. But for tonight, since I'm going to take half of this dough and turn it into cinnamon rolls, I'm using my 9x9 baking dish. And I've sprayed that with canola oil spray. And you pinch off a ball of dough about that size and just kind of mold it very gently. You don't want to handle dough any more than you have to. A little bit bigger than a ping pong ball or a golf ball, and you just place them in your baking dish. They don't have to be touching. Sometimes when I get my baking dish situated, I will realize some are bigger than others, and I just pinch off and make them all the same size, and that works out just fine. Okay, here we go. So this will I'll make 9 rolls for 3 people, so we'll have leftover rolls to serve with something I have tomorrow probably. You could also freeze extra roll dough. I have frozen them like in the little dough balls like this. Like just freeze a pan of dough, and it's like having Rhodes rolls from the store. I prefer just make them fresh and bake them then, because I don't know, I don't always remember to take things out of the freezer, and this would take a while to thaw, I think. Okay, need more dough on that. All right, so here's our pan of hot rolls. Now I will cover those again with a clean dishcloth, and they will rise for an hour, and at the end of the hour I'll put them in the oven and they'll bake and be ready for serving. So I'm going to set these aside and get ready to do my cinnamon rolls. Oh, okay. So I've got my flour. I will lightly flour my pastry board. I don't know where to put my flour. Okay. All right, take our dough and put it on the pastry board. All right. Kind of get it worked into a little bit of like a square. You have your rolling pin. You're going for the shape of a rectangle. And I don't roll my dough super thin, maybe 1/4 of an inch or so, maybe a little thicker than that. All right, so let me see here. Okay, so there's my dough. Can you see that? Yes, okay. I have melted butter. I don't know how much, but it's not hot. You don't want to put anything really hot on dough. It'll kill the yeast and it won't rise. So about like that. Okay. Spread that to about within an inch, within about a 1/2 inch of the edge. You don't want to go all the way to the edge. It'll leak out and... All right, so there's our butter. Now I have brown sugar. I keep in an airtight canister, so I keep a bulk amount, and I buy these canisters at Walmart to keep my brown sugar. Again, I don't know how much. I just sprinkle it across the dough, as you see. Then I kind of rub it in, spread it around, make sure it's evenly distributed across the butter. Okay. Then I take my cinnamon, which I buy at Sam's in the large container. Let me see if I can... That's the best price, and their quality is very good. I get most of my spices at Sam's. So sprinkle cinnamon. Okay. Then you're going to take your dough and you're going to roll it tightly. Just start it rolling little bit by bit. And here we go. All right. Once you get it started, it should roll fairly easily. All right. So now we have like a jelly roll. Can you all see that? Let me brush off extra flour. Okay. All right. I forgot to get a knife to cut it with. and use the 9x13 that I did not use for my hot rolls. It'll be too big for the cinnamon rolls too, but I think they'll do fine. I just use a knife, any sharp knife. This is just a serrated steak knife. Some people that I know, they will use dental floss to cut their cinnamon rolls, but I just use this. Cut them about 1 inch wide and place them in your pan. You see? And you're going to place them in the pan like that. Okay? This smells so good. I love cinnamon. It's just starting to get cold here where I live. I think it was in the 30s last night. Beautiful sunshiny fall days with pretty leaves. So it'll be a good weekend to have cinnamon rolls. And I'm having spaghetti tonight for dinner, as I mentioned earlier. And I will brown hamburger and probably make my own sauce. But something to remember is that spaghetti could also make a really good prepper meal. In fact, I've got ingredients in my prepper pantry for spaghetti. A jar of spaghetti sauce and a package of dry spaghetti. And then all you would need would be water to cook the spaghetti with, and that would be a good meal to have. Tonight, of course, I'll brown hamburger and probably have onion and green pepper in with my hamburger, and then take crushed tomatoes. I think I have like a 28-ounce can. I'll use one of those, and then I'll season it with oregano, basil, garlic, salt, a little bit of chili powder, and that will be my spaghetti sauce. Sometimes I put fresh mushrooms in as well. But in a prepper situation, a jar of spaghetti sauce and a box of spaghetti, and there's your meal. So I do have plenty of meals in my prepper pantry of spaghetti, just because that would be a good way to prepare. Okay, I'm just slightly flattening my cinnamon rolls just a little bit, not very much. And then they will rise as they sit in the pan. They also will sit for 1 hour before I put them in the oven. Now, there's what they will look like. Now, at this point in making cinnamon rolls, you can cover them with saran wrap and put them in the refrigerator overnight and take them out in the morning and allow them to rise for 1 hour and then bake them. And you'll have fresh hot cinnamon rolls in the morning. I'm gonna go ahead and bake mine tonight, like in 1 hour I'll be baking mine. So that way we'll just have them. So I'm gonna cover them with a dishcloth as well, and come back in 1 hour and bake these, and I will show you the finished products. Okay, so here we have our hot rolls ready for the oven. They've risen for about 1 hour. You can see the difference in size and how close together they are, and there's our cinnamon rolls. So my oven is preheated to 400 degrees, and I'm gonna go ahead and pop these guys in, and they'll be done in about 15 minutes. So I'll be back and show you the finished product. Okay, there's our hot rolls, fresh from the oven. They smell wonderful, and they'll be tasty, I'm sure. The cinnamon rolls are also out. Let me see if I can show you them. I don't have them frosted yet. I need to make a powdered sugar icing to go over, just a glaze. They also smell really good. Okay, guys. That's all I had for today. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel and hit that like button. Leave me a comment below. I've really been enjoying the comments I've been receiving. It's nice to hear from you all.